John Dominic Crossan is an Irish-American New Testament scholar, historian of early Christianity, and former Catholic priest who has produced both scholarly and popular works. His research has focused on the historical Jesus, on the anthropology of the ancient Mediterranean and New Testament worlds, and on the application of postmodern hermeneutical approaches to the Bible. His work is controversial, portraying the Second Coming as a late corruption of Jesus's message and saying that Jesus's divinity is metaphorical, in place of the eschatological message of the Gospels. Crossan emphasizes the historical context of Jesus and of his followers immediately after his death. He describes Jesus's ministry as founded on free healing and communal meals, negating the social hierarchies of Jewish culture and the Roman Empire. Crossan is a major scholar in contemporary historical Jesus research. In particular, he and Burton Mack are notable advocates for a non-eschatological view of Jesus, a view that contradicts the more common view that Jesus was an apocalyptic preacher. While contemporary scholars see more value in non-canonical Gospels than past scholars did, Crossan goes further and identifies a few non-canonical Gospels as earlier than and superior to the canonical ones. He co-founded the Jesus Seminar, an organization of revisionist biblical scholars. Life. Crossan was born in Nenagh, Tipperary, Ireland. Though his father was a banker, Crossan was steeped in the rural Irish life, which he experienced through frequent visits to the home of his paternal grandparents. Upon graduation from St. Eunan's College, a boarding high school, in 1950, Crossan joined the Servites, a Catholic religious order, and moved to the United States. He was trained at Stonebridge Seminary, Lake Bluff, Illinois, then ordained a priest in 1957. Crossan returned to Ireland, where he earned his Doctor of Divinity in 1959 at St. Patrick's College, Maynooth, the Irish National Seminary. He then completed 2 more years of study in biblical languages at the Pontifical Biblical Institute in Rome. In 1965, Crossan began 2 additional years of study at the École Biblique in Jordania and East Jerusalem. During this time, he traveled through several countries in the region, escaping just days before the outbreak of the Six-Day War of 1967. After a year at St. Mary of the Lakes Seminary in Mundelein, Illinois, and a year at Catholic Theological Union in Chicago, Crossan chose to resign his priesthood. In the fall of 1969, he joined the faculty of DePaul University, where he taught undergraduates comparative religion for 26 years until retiring in 1995. In 1985, Crossan and Robert Funk founded the Jesus Seminar, a group of academics studying the historical Jesus, and Crossan served as co-chair for its first decade. Crossan also served as president of the Chicago Society of Biblical Research in 1978–1979, and as president of the Society of Biblical Literature in 2012. Crossan married Margaret Dagonet, a professor at Loyola University Chicago, in the summer of 1969. She died in 1983 due to a heart attack. In 1986, Crossan married Sarah Sexton, a social worker with 2 grown children. Since his retirement from academia, Crossan has continued to write and lecture. Views and methodology. Crossan claims that Jesus was a healer and man of great wisdom and courage who taught a message of inclusiveness, tolerance, and liberation. His strategy was the combination of free healing and common eating, that negated the hierarchical and patronal normalcies of Jewish religion and Roman power. He was neither broker nor mediator but the announcer that neither should exist between humanity and divinity, a humanity and itself. Central to Crossan's methodology is the dating of texts. This is laid out more or less fully in the Historical Jesus in one of the appendices. He dates part of the Coptic Gospel of Thomas to the 50s CE, as well as the first layer of the hypothetical Q document. He also assigns a portion of the Gospel of Peter, which he calls the Cross Gospel, to a date preceding the Synoptic Gospels, the reasoning of which is laid out more fully in the cross that spoke, the origin of the Passion narratives. He believes the Cross Gospel was the forerunner to the Passion narratives in the canonical Gospels. He does not date the Synoptics until the mid to late 70s CE, starting with the Gospel of Mark and ending with Luke in the 90s. As for the Gospel of John, he believes part was constructed at the beginning, and another part closer to the middle, of the 2nd century CE. Following Rudolf Bultmann, he believes there is an earlier sign source for John as well. His dating methods and conclusions are quite controversial, particularly regarding the dating of Thomas and the Cross Gospel. The very early dating of these non-canonical sources has not been accepted by many biblical scholars. In God and Empire, Jesus Against Rome, Then and Now, Crossan starts with the presumption of reader familiarity with key points from his earlier work on the nonviolent revolutionary Jesus, his kingdom movement, and the surrounding matrix of the Roman imperial theological system of religion, war, victory, peace, but discusses them in the broader context of the escalating violence in world politics and popular culture of today. Within that matrix, he points out, early in the book, that here was a human being in the 1st century who was called Divine, Son of God, God, and God from God, whose titles were Lord, Redeemer, Liberator, and Savior of the world. OST Christians probably think that those titles were originally created and uniquely applied to Christ, but before Jesus ever existed, all those terms belonged to Caesar Augustus. Crossan cites the adoption of them by the early Christians to apply to Jesus as denying them of Caesar the Augustus. They were taking the identity of the Roman emperor and giving it to a Jewish peasant. Either that was a peculiar joke and a very low lampoon, or it was what the Romans called majestas and we call high treason. Religious beliefs. Crossan still identifies as a Christian but no longer belongs to an organized Christian denomination. Bibliography. Scanning the Sunday Gospel, 1966. The Gospel of Eternal Life, 1967. In Parables, The Challenge of the Historical Jesus, 1973, reprinted 1992, ISBN 006-061606-7. The Dark Interval, Towards a Theology of Story, 1975, reprinted 1988, ISBN 0-944344062. Raid on the Articulate, Comic Eschatology in Jesus and Borges, 1976, ISBN 0-06-061607-5. Finding is the First Act, Trove Folktales and Jesus' Treasure Parable, 1979, ISBN 0800615093. Cliffs of Fall, Paradox and Polyvalence in the Parables of Jesus, 1980, ISBN 0816401136. A Fragile Craft, The Work of Amos Niven Wilder, 1981, ISBN 0891304424X. In Fragments, The Aphorisms of Jesus, 1983, ISBN 006-061608-3. Four Other Gospels, Shadows on the Contours of Canon, 1985, reprinted 1992, ISBN 0866839593. Sayings Parallels, A Workbook for the Jesus Tradition, 1986, ISBN 0800621093. Across That Spoke, The Origins of the Passion Narrative, 1988, ISBN 006-254843-3. The Historical Jesus, The Life of a Mediterranean Jewish Peasant, 1991, ISBN 006-061629-6. The Essential Jesus, Original Sayings and Earliest Images, 1994, reprinted 1998, ISBN 07858-09015. Jesus, A Revolutionary Biography, 1994, ISBN 006-061662-8. Who Killed Jesus? Exposing the Roots of Anti-Semitism in the Gospel Story of the Death of Jesus, 1995, ISBN 006-061480-3. Who is Jesus? Answers to Your Questions About the Historical Jesus, edited with Richard Watts, 1996, ISBN 0-664-25842-5. The Birth of Christianity, Discovering What Happened in the Years Immediately After the Execution of Jesus, 1998, ISBN 0-06-061660-1. Will the Real Jesus Please Stand Up? A Debate Between William Lane Craig and John Dominic Crossan, 1999, ISBN 0801021758. The Jesus Controversy, Perspectives in Conflict, with Luke Timothy Johnson, Werner H. Kelber, 1999, ISBN 1-56338-289-X. A Long Way from Tipperary, A Memoir, 2000, ISBN 006-069974-4. Excavating Jesus, Beneath the Stones, Behind the Texts, with Jonathan L. Reed, 2001, ISBN 006-061634-2. In Search of Paul, How Jesus' Apostle Opposed Rome's Empire with God's Kingdom, with Jonathan L. Reed, 2004, ISBN 006-051457-4. The Last Week, a day-by-day account of Jesus' final week in Jerusalem with Marcus J. Borg, Harper San Francisco, ISBN 978-006-0845391. God and Empire, Jesus Against Rome, Then and Now, Harper San Francisco, 2007, ISBN 978-006-0843236. The First Paul, Reclaiming the Radical Visionary Behind the Church as Conservative Icon, co-authored with Marcus Borg, 2009, ISBN 006-143072-2. The Greatest Prayer, Rediscovering the Revolutionary Message of the Lord's Prayer, 2010, ISBN 978-006-1875670. The Power of Parable, How Fiction by Jesus Became Fiction About Jesus, 2012, ISBN 978-0281-06811-1. How to Read the Bible and Still Be a Christian.